Alright, hello, welcome. This is going to be the start of a new series on the channel. Yes, I know there's a new series on the channel, but I'm going to continue Cayman Cruise tomorrow, but what I'm going to start doing now is called the Turbo Thursday. Now, Turbo Thursday is going to be either Neptunia Virtual Stars or it's going to be Gran Turismo Sport daily races. I've already done daily races. Well, I haven't actually done daily races on the channel, but for the most part, I just wanted to try and make a revision to some of the videos I had for the original Neptunia Virtual Stars introduction, I guess, to like speedrunning. And I guess this would be a good time to like combine everything together and do it again and try it again. So, again, as you can see, the title is only going to be focusing on the Neotube portion, so it's not going to be too long. I can showcase some of the tech originally early on, and then we can get into it. So again, there's no timer, so let's just go. So Virtual Stars was released again in 2021. It says 2020, but that was in August of 2020 in Japan. In the US, it was released, I believe it was March 9th, 2021. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it is a game I've speedrun multiple times. The world's record, I believe, currently is a 155, which is held by Silent Eagle 3. I didn't skip that cutscene. But I'm not close behind with a believe a 159, so it's not terrible in terms of how far behind I am. But enough to my own horn. Like I said, this is more of a, and there's chapter 1, but it's more of a way for me to, I guess, speak on Virtual Stars, and it's not an uncompetitive game, I'm going to say, for the speedrun. In terms for the speedrun itself, it's actually pretty nice in terms of, movement and shooting. And the only thing is RNG. So, first things first, what is Virtual Stars? Virtual Stars is a game where you get to shoot things. You have a regular shot and you have a charge shot. You also have a dash mechanic. Now, this dash mechanic, normally, if you let it go, it'll stop on its own. But, fun fact, there is a way to make this completely infinite. Now, there is an item in the game that allows you to get a goddess boost up. It doesn't extend the goddess boost enough for my liking. So, the way that I devised to circumvent this is to jump in the middle of it and slam down, as you will see right now. So you dash, jump, dash down, and then dash again. So basically, it's not infinite, but it allows you to clear more than just, dashing in a straight line and then having to roll out of it. You actually just jump, cancel, and then you do it again. So you get to move very fast. Well, not very fast, but very long for a very extended amount of time. So again, the dash mechanic, but then there's other characters. You can be Noir, Blanc, or Vert. Vert's only used in one portion. I believe if I get to the Untitled Chapter, I will explain why we use Vert in certain ways, but Blanc was used in the speedrun all the way back in about March or April when I first started speedrunning the game to sort of circumvent not getting the 375 to 400 attack that you need to optimally hit the final boss. Sure, whatever you just said. And then Noir is used for if you don't have enough attack in general. So, like, for example, if you have enough attack, you're going to use Neptune. Neptune you're always going to use. And for Blanc and for Noir, if you have not enough on Neptune, you will use Noir. Because Noir, as you can see, her shots aren't as slow or aren't as fast, but they still deal damage. But Neptunes are just the fastest. They deal the most damage if you have enough attack. And yeah, so just in general, Noir is definitely Neptune's definitely the way to go if you have enough, but Noir is the best. And since early on you don't get cubes, like you don't get cubes until after a certain point, because this is technically, spoilers, fake Neotube, because there's a fake Neotube and a true Neotube. So this is a fake Neotube. So through fake Neotube, I'm going to try and just play as Noir, because again, she does the most damage throughout, because Neptune unfortunately doesn't do enough damage without cubes, but then again, that is rectified very, very quickly, even in Neotube. So, the main point of the game is to defeat enemies. Well, yeah, it actually is just to defeat enemies. So, in the grand scheme of things, what you want to do is try and get the mind up, use your skills. Unfortunately, she doesn't have her 7, because she's only level 1. As you can see on the bottom right, MP is a thing. And MP can contribute to, you know, using skills. And these skills can be used for extra damage. Sometimes in Neptune's case, it's actually a big, huge part of her kit. So, just generally going through some of the areas. There are mandatory areas, as you just saw before, and over here as well. Mandatory areas, there's not many in the game, but early on there really is. It's sort of just to try and teach the player, oh yeah, you know, you gotta defeat enemies to move on and grind, but funnily enough, defeating enemies is not an effective way of grinding. That much I can tell you right now. There's only two effective ways of grinding, actually. One of them is in Novella. Come on, little snake. Is a Novella, which is later on, so we won't discuss it this episode. But there is also the effective way of defeating Melters and gaining a whole bunch of things. A whole bunch of... What am I trying to talk about? A whole bunch of emote spheres, as you can see at the top. So, effectively, in the shop, you can buy these things called Overflowing Energies for 200,000 emote spheres. And if you have it max upgraded, that's when you can buy them for 200,000. There's also I think at the end of the game, you unlock a dark shop, and the dark shop allows you to get them for 120, but that takes way too much emote spheres to get, and it's very ineffective. But, I forgot. We're controlling VTubers. Now, there's two things. The control scheme of the CPUs, and there's a control scheme of the VTubers. Now, the VTubers are used very, very, very scarcely. Only in this one section, and for movement straight after this. But to get through this one effectively, all you have to do is use the attack button, jump, use a strong attack, and then use the top skill, and then you'll defeat the enemies in really no time, because of the fact that her skill does tend to do a lot of damage in a straight line, and that's what I'm intending to use to try and get through this as fast as possible. Unfortunately, I've been trying to explain most of it, so it's not as fast as it would usually be, but it does tend to be a little bit slow if one of the, as you saw, one of the white boxed enemies tends to like stray away. I had that once in the speedrun. It wasn't too fun. But there's also these blocks. Now, as you saw at the beginning of the game, or at the beginning, Noir had to shoot the block. The VTubers, they can shoot the blocks, and they can do it, but it is exceedingly slow. So what you have to do is just jump over them, and then dash. Now again, like I said, the CPUs have a dash that they can do infinitely. Unfortunately, the VTubers don't, but they can do this like space dash that they can do, and in the air, it's invaluable to get over gaps. Like super invaluable. Also, fun fact, you do not want to be VTubers when hitting a transition, because if you do, you have to wait for the other VTuber to catch up to you, and it is a lot slower. So, now, we are at the point where we will never be separated from the CPUs ever again for the rest of the game. So, as you saw, you can change the control type. You have the VTuber, and then if you press L1 and R1, or, well, the bumpers on your controller, you can switch to the CPUs. The CPUs will be used for the rest of this area, because there are no jumping sections, or, well, major jumping sections in Neotube. So, unfortunately, say goodbye to me and you. They will not be seen for the rest of the video. So, again, mandatory areas. There are some skippable mandatory areas, not in Neotube, unfortunately. There's only a couple we've found, the community has found, that do save some time, and there are some skips in the game, and there's one skip. But then again, Novella is completely broken. That's the level I'm referring to. Not Neotube, not Cocunia, it's Novella. And Novella isn't until the third area. And speaking about the original speedrun, I never used to grind in Novella. I used to grind in Kukunia. I may show it if I do have enough attack by the time I do get to Kukunia, because that is a fun little strat in a little way. Skip cutscene, but that is an interesting little artifact of how it used to be. So, bosses in this game. Bosses take place in this little circular area. It has a top area for the CPUs, and if you wanted to, you can use the VTubers in the middle. But what I choose to do is use the infinite dash technique that I just showed. So all you have to do is shoot, and if he comes dashing at you, which he has somewhat attacks, where if he comes at you and tries to dash at you and slash at you, what you can actually do is just dash around him. And if you want to end your dash early without having to roll, you can just jump instead of having to do the roll. Usually I used to wait for the roll, but it's slow and, you know, doesn't allow you to shoot. But if you dash around and you jump, because you're always going to be locked onto the, you know, the enemy that you're trying to hit, or if you hold L2, you can lock onto him. But since you're always going to be trying to look for them, you can just dash around. Also, hey, you're doing the same move 3 times in a row, head boss. Thanks for the brilliant RNG, my friend. Not that he's usually this nice. Usually he's just doing this and dashing at me all the time. But, you know, I accept it. Not in a speedrun, but, you know, very acceptable RNG. So, yeah, they do go into desperation phase once they hit, I think it's about 25-30% HP. I'm not sure of the number because I usually boss by them as fast as possible, and I don't really care about desperation. The only real bad thing about his desperation is if he catches you when you're dashing away. That's the only bad thing that can come from this boss fight. Because again, it's very, cookie cutter? Because again, cubes don't take an issue with it, and the only thing is his patterns that really change the battle. So, get a level up, doesn't really matter, because the only one we're going to be really caring about is Neptune, and Neptune already got her skill as soon as she stepped onto the battlefield, so she is not going to get another skill that is going to be beneficial in the entire game, because her Chapter 2, I believe it's her cannon ability. I think it's like cannon shot or like a spread shot. It's the best move in the game. You'll see if I do get enough attack, I can use it on the final boss of the area. But it tends to be one of the best attacks in the entire game. Because, as you're about to see, watch the spread on this thing. It does 8 shots, and each shot has an individual hitbox. So it will deal damage if it hits something. If you do really close to something, or a boss, you're going to be dealing a tremendous amount of damage, especially later on. You will deal a tremendous amount of damage, and it's the bread and butter of the whole entire run. You need it. That is the bread and butter of the entire run. So, these enemies are antis, are identifying antis. They're usually the ones that you want to defeat for V-Cubes. Now, I can't equip said V-Cube right now of Ilhart. Now, Ilhart is the, the 100% mandatory, you will always get V-Cube of the entire game. You will always get her in this first area, it just matters if it's a special one, if it's a 0, 2, 3, 4, or 5, I've gotten a 6, of Ilhart. Now, I only have a 2, which only gives 3 attack. I'm still going to equip it to Noir for now, but after that, there's no more, consistency, I would say, because now we get into the RNG portion. Now, RNG is random number generation. Random number generation means, from here, if I step in, I could get a V-Cube, or I could not get a V-Cube. The answer is, of course I don't get a V-Cube. So, the unfortunate part is, now we just have to move on. In a speedrun, I wouldn't reset, per se, but you can't actually reset unless you complete the area. So, if you complete the area, you complete Neotube. Neotube allows you, or the map allows you to go to any points that or any gates you've discovered. So once you travel to a gate, you can use that gate to travel to different areas, or travel around the map and collect secret items and such, or even the keys to get the secret boss. Now, in terms of Neotube, we don't grab the gate because the gate is useless. It doesn't really matter. The first area actually offers into the, I believe, the maintenance area, which has a cube. But unfortunately, I didn't grab the cube, or I didn't get the cube. So we're going in completely basically consistent, I guess, in terms. Unfortunately, I didn't get a cube. I'm going to try and get the cube that I usually get in Neotube, which is the one in the mandatory area after Sword Fighter? I almost said Sword Fisher, Sword Rider. Once I defeat Sword Rider, then we should be completely fine to just move on and defeat the boss of the area, Weru Dugo. Now, he's not difficult. He has a clone in, I believe it's, he has a clone in Gaminion called Daywalker, who I think is probably one of the most redeemable characters in the game, because he's just trying to create a good game, but unfortunately he's loyal to the main villain, so it's been unfortunate. You have to defeat him, in what little story there is in this game, but, I respected him, and I think he's probably one of the, he's a cool guy, but unfortunately his boss battle is basically just the same as Weru Dugo. He doesn't change in any way, shape, or form from Weru Dugo. Weru Dugo is just Yes, I did. Oops. Okay, so I used the Guest Connect. Guest Connect can also be used to defeat enemies. There's also a live, but the live is only used if you so choose to grind emote spheres. And besides that, it's only used to clear small rooms. In my opinion, you only get to use it in a Wandle, or I believe Obsoleta, and that's really about it. So, these are called, I believe what they call them, SX boxes. Now, these SX boxes have various items. I only use it for a cube. Did I get a good cube? I did. I got a 6. That is 5 attack. Okay. So, I believe Weru should be easy now, because as you're seeing now, I'm dealing almost 60 damage to every enemy. So, it won't be too long until I defeat Weru Dugo, and unfortunately we're coming to the close of our episode. So, like I said, Neotube isn't too difficult of an area. The only thing is the first portion is consistent, but as soon as you grab that first V-Cube and you move on to the second V-Cube, it turns into, not an RNG mess, but you can get through Neotube without a consistent cube because of how simple it is and how easy it is in the entire game. In the grand scheme of things, it's the first world, or the first, city or planet. I think it's like city because it's planet emote. It's a city. So once you move on to like Novella or specifically the next area, Cocunia and Novella, you do want to have a certain amount of attack. So I'm actually going to show you, once I defeat Weru Dugo, on how to possibly repair said bad RNG. And if you get really, really bad RNG, you can just reset. Like, that's just the thing. You just reset. So, you can see Weru Dugo is a big, huge target. He spins around in the drill. He, can spin at you, but then again, you can just do the jump dash away attack, or the jump dash away tactic, as you were using on Sword Rider. And then you can just easily defeat him. Now again, I'm not dealing as much damage as I would want, because again, I didn't get the optimal cube, but again, it's still feasible and you can do it. Even without a cube, I'm pretty sure Weru Dugo is the easiest boss in the entire game, besides Head Boss. But I think he's even easier than Head Boss, because Head Boss, at least, didn't have attacks that you can do, and he tracked after you more often than not, instead of Weru Dugo, where he's just doing his own thing and just, spinning around and just being this huge, glorified target. So he's just about done. Yeah, not too bad of a first area. Unfortunately, it was, again, a lot slower than I would like. But hey, you know what? Neotube is complete. But we are not done with the video yet. We're going to skip a couple cutscenes. We're going to get the VVV tuning. Which, no, we're not going to save yet. So, we're going to skip this cutscene again. And how to repair RNG. Now, how to repair RNG is to go to the transfer gate. And once you complete an area, like I've said, you can go to Neotube, you can go to any selected gate, and you can get V-Cubes. Now, V-Cubes are easily grindable in one area in specifically Gaminion, but again, if your RNG is terrible, you can go over to this side. I believe it's a mandatory area, but Neptune should be leveled enough to defeat them on our own, honestly. So it's not too bad. I think I'm under V-Cubes as well. I think you need at least 3,000 V-Cubes to get the only purchasable thing that you need in the entire game, which is the item shop, because it's mandatory, unfortunately. There's no way to skip it. Every other shop can be skipped. You do not have to buy another single shop after you finish, after you purchase the item shop. You don't have to purchase another shop. You don't have to talk to Noel to get any other shop upgrades. That is the only shop you purchase. So the minimum amount of emote spheres to complete the game is 3,000. Now, okay. So when they do say their voice lines, like let's save them or Toshikana Kya or whatever, that means that it is a V-Cube to hunt. If they don't say anything, there's no V-Cube. That's not a good one? That's not terrible. We'll switch on to Neptune for now. And what's her attack at? 59. Ah, she's higher than Noir. Sweet. Okay, that works. So I guess the amount of attack you really need is like 8 to outshine Noir. But Noir, once she levels up, will outclass Neptune. But we are talking about fixing RNG, not about Neptune's level, which will soon balloon. But to fix RNG, all you have to do is once you complete an area, click map, click the reset, is it reset button? Or is it the teleport button, which is square? You click yes, and then you're teleported back to the beginning of the area. Now, what happens when you reset an area? When you reset an area, every single enemy gets reset, no matter what. The whole entire area gets reset in a loading screen. So, you remember the mandatory area I was just in? All the enemies respawn, but it's not mandatory anymore, which makes it a lot easier to then go through, take this little detour, not detour, but take this little path up here and listen for the voice line. There's no voice line, but because it was cut by another voice line. But now you get to defeat the V-Hunter again, or the cube enemy. I just call him the cube enemy. And I got a special cube. Special cube is Fluffy Illheart. Now, there are special cubes. There's Fluffy, there's Moe Moe, Kyun, there's also, I believe Shifty is the best one. It reduces your health by a tremendous amount, but it gives you like 50 attack. So, what you really want is those special cubes. Unfortunately, right now, I didn't get a good Illheart, so we reset. So, we're going to go for one more, and if it doesn't really change anything, I'll just, continue on, and I'll probably grind a good cube, and we'll come back to this later, but in general, Neotube is the introductory portion of Neptunia Virtual Stars. It will get you accustomed with the game. And in terms of speedruns, it is the heaviest reset point if you do not get a good cube. There are very little reset points in the game once you get to a certain point. But if you get a good Neotube and you get like a 30 attack cube, you basically don't have to grind cubes for the rest of the game. Did I just get... yes, I did! Yeah, okay, so that is one of the cubes I was talking about. Now, Ultimate, I believe, is the highest rarity cube in the game, or Shifty is the highest rarity cube in the game. But Ultimate, I've never actually upgraded them past this. So, an Ultimate is probably, like, on the lower scale. But, as you can see, so, like, the Fluffy Illheart is a special one. It gives Toki TKMK, but that's only used for the final boss and used to stun enemies. Attack is just attack. And for, the VTubers, 5th 17 attack wouldn't be too much, be, enough, and it would lower the defense. But, fun fact, CPUs don't have a defense stat. So, it basically just grants a plus 17 attack to, as you can see, I have an extra 29 attack on top of the 48, which makes it 77. But, in the more important fact is, you see these enemies back here? I'm pretty sure I'm going to be doing like 200 damage to them now. Nope, 100. But even so, they are dead within seconds. So, that is a huge one. I accept that cue. Thank you very much, Based Akatsuki Uni. And yeah, that's just about the gist of what you need for Neotube. I'm gonna complete the cutscenes that go to get to what is it? To completing Neotube. I'm not gonna step into Coconia. Like I said, this is only gonna be purely for Neotube. So again, if you did enjoy this little Turbo Thursday video, you can of course leave a like, comment, subscribe, and ring the bell if you'd like to see the next installment in Turbo Thursday to enjoy Neptunia speedruns to their, well, not fullest extent, but to the extent that Virtual Stars can give. So, again, thank you very, 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 very much for watching, and I hope to see you tomorrow for Cayman Cruise number 2, or again next week for Wednesday's edition of, the Cayman Cruise. So, yeah, that's all I want to say. So again, thank you very much for watching. Like, comment, sub, and I will see you guys on the next one. See ya!